Hey, what's good, people? This is the Option Podcast. This is episode 207. I know I said last episode was 207, but this time I mean it. All right. This time I have the boss, the no nonsense, incomparable Bryan McDermand. It's right over there. Say what's up.
How you
Buckle up,
doing?
people. The
Is this number
episode.
7 for us?
Maybe you are
Might be 8. I think it's 7.
repeat offender. I think you and Wendy Jones are on that two-horse race. The episode starts right now. You know, that always seems too loud, but on the recording, it doesn't sound that way. Us, it's blowing our
I
ear.
barely heard it.
Good. Oh, good. Us, it's blowing our eardrums out. Fix your volume now. Hey, guys, listen. You have waited and you have waited and you have waited. And even though this man has come on multiple times, I got to give the people what they want. I got to give the people what they want. Mr. Bryan McDermand, the no nonsense founder, coach of Chicago Progression Beach Volleyball. Sorry, Progression Beach Volleyball in Chicago. How are you, my man?
Doing well, man. Camps for summer start on Monday. I'm very excited for that. I've got as deep of a staff as I've had in quite some time. This is going to be the first summer in 10 seasons that I'm not running every single group that I run. So it'll be good because I want to start focusing on some other things. I want to start scaling some stuff. And it's nice to, at the same time, I've always told parents I will not turn my back on a coach if I can't guarantee the quality of instruction. But we're pretty good. I got some of my college girls that are going to be actual teachers. So it's not just like young people. Like they're people that are going to be good coaches that know my system inside and out. They're going to be hopping in and being a good role model for the young kids. And yeah, so just kind of getting some parent information out, doing a last minute push for people that might be looking for a place to train this summer. So a lot of work, but anytime you call and you got an interest in talking, I always enjoy a platform to just talk all things volleyball. So how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm up and down and desperately just trying to find some place in the middle, and I'm kind of in this weird place the last 12 months where I'm all the way up and I'm over the top and it's terrific, or I'm all the way down and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to move, and I don't think either one of them is that serious. And I'd like to find some kind of gray area, and it's a half lie. I never want to be in a gray area. I want to be great. I want to be the best. I don't want to be in the middle. But psychologically, there is a side of the middle. I want to be on the great side of the middle, but not. There has to be this. I mean, maybe I'm too honest. This is a freaking podcast. I'm up and down, but right now, right
No,
now,
I think you know what? I
you know,
think anyone that doesn't have a little bit of peace and valleys is,
not human.
that's it's part of life. I'm not going to tell you I'm in a good place today. If you messaged me a week or two ago, there were moments that I might not have been
Yeah.
so bubbly, and I'm definitely I'm with you in the aspect of I don't need the peaks to be so high, but it'd be nice to just kind of simplify it a little bit. So no,
Yeah.
we can talk about that a little more offline if you want, but
No,
um,
I mean, I opened the door, and I'd like to finish by saying, you're right. Like a week from now, you'd be like, "How you?" The same way you ask, how you doing?" I'd be like, "Who gives a rat's butt how I'm doing?" But I got a really good support system. Like the one consistent has been my wife. She's been fantastic. My kid, my 7-year-old, she's been consistent, and it's really fun to see this tall girl. You have volleyball stars in your eyes, but she likes tennis, so she's like really mad tall. So when you see someone who's that tall at 7, you're like, oh my god, volleyball dad, coach. The mom played a little bit of volleyball and tennis at Harvard. Yeah, she's definitely playing volleyball. But I said no, I should let her find her own way. But you mentioned something because I really screwed up Dane's podcast by getting chatty, and you know how I can like, you've been enough episodes where I can steer us both off the cliff, even though your professional is always good. How old's your club?
it's been good.
How
It's
old is your club? No, how old?
Oh, how old? We started in 2014. I really was
Wow.
only doing summers, and then I got access to two indoor beach volleyball courts from 2015 to 2018, and we were getting a lot of momentum going, and then lost that. So for about 18 months, I didn't have anywhere to train my kids.
Right.
So I kind of had my
Remember that.
program. My kids went to other places. They have to keep going. And then we built the facility, and then 6 months later, the pandemic hit. And so it's been a little bit of this, but I just did the numbers. So yeah, we've got bigger numbers this year than we've had before. The thing that I think is really interesting, just for people that don't know my program. So my goal was to create something a little different than what the norm is. So we run 4 sessions a year with 3 1-month pauses. So as we stand here right now, we're just finishing our May pause. We take a break in February and August as well. We started that version of what we're doing in the fall of 2022. And it's interesting because our numbers continue to go up. And at the same time, the amount of people that are playing certain sessions but not the others, like what we find is in the fall, we get a lot of girls that either get cut from their high school team or elect not to play for their high school team. Some of those girls we don't see again until the summer because they are going to go play club in the winter and the spring. We had 3 girls that played for us in the winter that had a great time. The little mighty mice, I would call them, right? They loved beach, but they're really good badminton players. So they're playing badminton for their school. So it's interesting because I would say our program in the last year, we've worked with about 100 kids, but no group was bigger than like 35, 40 at any given
Right.
time. So yeah, it's you know, when you blaze a trail, it's a lot of if thens. But like I said, I'm excited because we've done this in spite of the fact I'm coming to terms. I think I've done a poor job administratively. I think I've been very focused on protecting the kids, making sure the people in our program are taken care of, talking to parents. But I've been kind of thin with what I've been able to do. So there are things that I think the business needs to be doing to expand, do more social media content so people know what we're doing in the trenches. I just haven't done a good job of that. So, like I said, Monday I had an hour-and-a-half meeting with I've got 3 people that I would say are pretty high up. And basically I said, all right, here are the things that I think we need to do. Here are the things that I would like to do. Here are the things I would like to delegate. So where does everyone, a lot of people brought their own things that we added to the list that I think were really valuable. As well as, okay, what are the things that you 3 want to do and where do we need to find some help in the other areas? And so I've always felt good about the product. I haven't felt good necessarily about the logistics behind the curtain. And I feel like we're finally getting that balance and I'm really excited to see what we do with it.
Yeah. How'd the tryouts go for 11 to 14? You did some last minute stuff.
Yeah. It's not, we have, our numbers haven't been, I'm gonna be transparent. Our numbers for the tryest outs, as I call them, haven't been great. It's literally something we created last week. And I'm still getting the market out, but we're going to be doing it throughout the entire summer. And so, I can't speak for your region. In our region, a couple of years ago, they've shifted club tryouts from November to July. And this year was the first year that we saw people literally being asked to sign contracts in May for the following season, even though they're not done with this season,
Right.
even though the programs won't tell them what coaches they'll have, right?
Right.
But sign this contract and lock yourself in and pay us this money. And if you're not happy in 6 months, you can let us keep your deposit or good luck.
Yeah, that's that's
So
grimy, man. And I know everyone's like, well, everyone's doing it, but it doesn't excuse it from being grimy. Sorry.
I'll, what the people that are doing it will say to you, and everyone can have their opinion, is if parents are paying for it, there must be value. I there's 2 different stories about youth sports that are accurate. If people that are running their club like a corporation and looking at it from a profits and losses, if they look at their bottom line, they have never been more successful, right? So while you and I, you use the word grimy, I would say unethical. If the goal is to make money and parents are paying for it, I'm not going to tell you that if that's what their goals are, that there isn't some validity to what they're doing. Where I think they're falling short a little bit, or at least not necessarily seeing the big picture, is some of these kids that are signing that contract and then being put in a tough situation. Parents and players are paying the same amount of money, they're spending the same amount of time and commitment, and when the kids down here are getting a lesser quality of education than the kids are trying to catch, parents inadvertently are actually paying for the gap to widen. And so kind of getting to the good stuff, like last summer I kind of got caught blindside. I was like, what am I going to do about this? And so talked with a couple parents, talked with some of my coaches, and So what we're going to do is basically 2 to 3 times a week, we're going to have an opportunity for parents to come in with their players. We're going to run a practice with the parents able to watch it, with the coaches that actually run the programs for which they're trying out. I will sit on the sideline and answer any questions that parents might have about the difference between beach and indoor, how our program works, college information. Like, I always like giving free college guidance to people when I'm there. And at the end of it, if they like it, we would love to have them. Our group is a little different. I have one group that's invite only. I call it the college track program. And those are kids that I've identified both as having the ability to play in college, but more importantly, like, are they kids that have the interest in playing in college? I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot of kids that have physical ability that don't have necessarily the drive that matches their potential.
and they don't
And
really
I
want it,
know,
right?
and we're gonna get into that later because I know you got a couple things you gave me that you want to talk about. But basically, like, we cap every group indoors at 8 kids per court. So every group, I've got 2 courts, so we do 16. So basically, every session I'm going to have 32 kids, 15 to 18U for girls. I'll have 24 for boys, 11 to 18U. I'll have 24 for girls, 11 to 14U, and 11 to 14U for girls. I'm doing fours because I think it's good. I think at the 11 to 12 age, we've done doubles, and last summer I just kind of finally waved the white flag. The kids are getting better, but it's work. It's not as fun. I recognize that, right? And it's amazing. You just add one or two more bodies to the other side. So I like fours because we're going to have them rotate. The middle front, you're going to learn to set. Sides are going to hit. Middle back will play defense, and you get to hit at a certain level. But my goal with it is to give young kids a foundation of everything, so
Yeah.
that they're not being, the tall kids are getting the passing reps. The short kids are actually learning how to snap a
Yeah, how
ball.
how about getting some of the 12s to play that look promising to play in the older age groups and train with
Well,
them?
so
Like
absolutely, we
for
have
like
a
Fur
girl
like
that
Furbringer's
is
daughter did that, for beach. She's playing indoor now, but for like beach, she
yeah.
was 11 and in AAU she was playing 14s, and
So my college track group does not have an age limit, right? So we have seniors all the way to freshmen.
mhm.
And I do have, like, we've had 11, 12, 13-year olds that are definitely, a lot of them are younger siblings, and you know how that can be when you've gotten
Yes.
to see nothing but good volleyball your whole life. You get to sidestep some of the trial and error. So we don't group kids necessarily by their age, right? Like, that's 4 years, 11 to 14, 15 to 18. But if I've got some high achieving 11 to 14 kids, we move them up right away. I have no interest, our top girls, like, it's great. We have 6 college girls that are coming back and signed up to play our top camp. So it's great because my juniors that are on their way to play college are going to have a full summer playing against that speed and environment. When they've been training here, like Kristen and I hop in with them, I bring adults in. Like, we had 11 girls play college this last season. 7 of them won over 10 games. I think 5 of them won over 15, 3 won over 20. Some of these girls were literally not starting for their club teams from 11 to 16U. And once they got the proper development and education and put in a situation where they were both challenged as well as given the opportunity to play against that level, our kids do very well. A lot of them come back, and I always ask at the end of their freshman year, like, is there anything after doing your first year of college that you wish we would have trained you more on so it could better prepare you? And we've not gotten anything. So I keep in touch with a lot of the top players, and I've got some good relationship with college coaches, and I'm always picking their brain on, obviously offenses are changing and things like that. But I feel very good. I'm proud of those girls, and I'm just as happy. We get so many kids that are coming from programs where they've been neglected. They put the work in, they love the sport, but they're not getting just technical training. And within 10 weeks, not only are you seeing a physical improvement of their performance, you're seeing a ton of kids that came in with their head down, kids that literally told us, like, they've never been allowed to have a back and forth with a coach. And once you give them the proper environment and opportunity, and hey, we're not here to punish you. You're not the problem when you're making mistakes. Your missed serves, your missed hits, those are the problems. And we're here as mentors to help collaborate with you and help you figure that out. I mean, even our lowest level kids show a basic proficiency in the sport if they truly are willing to put the work in, and they're given the right environment.
I also think you can appreciate how that helps your reputation, right? Again, you started this in 2014. You're on your 10th anniversary. Congratulations, Mr. McDermott, on that.
Like
But
it's weird.
but in respect, the consistency of you offering these things and giving these girls some of these focus based drills, speaking to them eye level down here. Sometimes I'm way up here like an idiot, and I wish I could be more like you, in that respect. But the cool thing, and the reason why I brought this whole club thing in is that people that are making these early tryouts that have to sign same day commitments of the tryouts. They have to commit. Some of them have to commit the same day. Are really the parents are paying because they're paying for a name, right? And like you said, these clubs are a business, and sometimes they enlist like big name players who become big name coaches. Like, oh, cool, Furby's there. Furby's a real coach. So I'll pick another example. Well, Furby became a real coach in 10
You don't need to name it. You don't want to make
in
some
the 10
enemies here. But I
in
get
the, in the
there are a
10 year
lot of
period.
people
No,
that
but the
are good
people I want to
players.
praise and the people that I want to highlight as good human beings. I think he's a good human being, and I think he's an exceptional coach. Boys and girls. He coached Rockstar Club, and
He was
and
on the
again
national
and
team
again his
pipeline
daughter.
as a coach. I mean, he was
Huh?
at the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
No, but there's
it
no
is what it
freaking
is.
scale that goes to that, right? You could be someone's friend and get that if you live on the West Coast, right? Like
How many?
Karch to his credit, at least coached high school and club for 3-5 years, and then it's not like Karch used his gold medal as this I know everything exception. Karch did it right, and Furby did it right. Furby did that. He was at Long Beach State with Joy for a while. We ain't that part we'll skip in regards to that whole thing because that was a crazy story that only I behind
I
closed
yeah,
only I
not
behind
my.
closed only I behind closed doors really know about. But
I know nothing
I
about it, so
wanted to
not my
talk
circus,
about
not my
you.
monkeys.
No, but I wanted to talk about you because there's only a matter of time, or it was a matter of time, before you keep just doing the same things, and people are like, "Dude, I went to this guy's practice once." You were talking about 10 weeks. I remember we were having stories behind closed doors where they just came to the first practice, and I'm like, "Dude, I can't believe it took me like months to get this, and I didn't get this, and I got this 15 minutes in, and now I want to know more." And I'm blabbing because I'm getting to a broader point. If you could put these kids in a position where they're engaged and they're galvanized and they're energized and they're interested, they want to come to practice. Because as
Oh
everybody
yeah.
listening to me, because everyone's stuck with me so far in this one, to make my point, anytime you put a teenage kid from 11 teen to 12 teen to 18, right? Uh, um, where they want to come to practice, and they're not like they finish school, they got homework, and they're just like, oh God, practice, I forgot. That's not what's going on with Bryan. That's not what's going on with Chicago Beach progression. That's not what's going on with this man's motivation. That's not going on with him and the people he enlists to do this broader statement. So I really like. I mean, I've only known you for like 5 years. For half that time, I think 2018 and 19 is when we engaged. But
Yeah, about that.
but I can really appreciate it. I was with Jason Olive the last 3 years at LA Volleyball Club. That club is only 5-6 years old. So he, who he enlists as coaches, who to go with him, how he goes about it, how he deals, in the LA area, how he does all this investment and all this training, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then as a reward, the girls are like, I'm leaving. I want to go to that club. So
Mhm.
the things that we could skip, and the things that I had to talk about, and that's why I wanted to highlight you, because you've been the one consistent as far as getting girls that want to come to practice. They want to come to the girls in progression want to come to practice. So, and that's why I wanted you on the podcast, because you asked Dane Blanton a question when he was on the podcast. I had Dane Blanton on live questions, and I think I want to bounce some of those questions back to you, Mr. McDermand. Okay, and one of the questions is, how do you maximize your players and keep them motivated on a consistent basis? That wasn't you. That was Aaron Wexler. Was that you, or that might have been?
He
That might
asked
have
a
been it.
lot too. I might have. I think the question I asked him, which I can't. I'm not a college coach. I can give you ideas. Was, especially him.
Oh,
His
how do you
11 through.
maintain the happiness? Now let's jump to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Jump the shark, jump the shark. How do you maintain the happiness of someone who is disappointed in the position they are in versus the position they want to be in? I'm
Is it?
paraphrasing that
I was
question.
about to say, because if I said maintain the happiness, like I'm immediately gonna kind of nitpick a little bit. Let's start here. I am not responsible for my players' happiness. I can't be. Like, there's nothing I can do about that, right? Um, my job in my program is to make sure that every kid feels they get the same opportunity for development. And that's the truth. And at the same time, what they understand is we're only willing and able to go as far as they're able to go. Right. So if I get a kid that says they want to play in college, but they're not showing up to practice, they're not giving their best effort when they're there, they're not dealing with the adversity well that they need to be dealing with, there's nothing I can really do about that. That's going to change what they're going to be able to do. Right. What I found is we truly, sometimes I would argue I probably give more attention to the kids that are struggling more. Right. So sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, man, this kid had a great practice, but I probably could have given them a little bit more, even though they were doing well, but we could always nitpick and fix some things. Right. So, I think it's important for you to constantly make sure that kids feel like they're not getting less than someone else if they're putting the same amount of time and effort in. I think it's important to be very transparent with athletes. Like I always tell parents, like, we don't do playing time really with our program, but if they feel that someone's getting a different opportunity than them, or they see someone going further than where they're going, and they want to talk about it, like, my job is always to be very honest about, like, where are you at? Where do you want to go? And if you're not satisfied with where you think you are or where you should be, like, where do we think the disconnect is, right? And I need to be clear to them, like, okay, they want to play in college, but they're not getting feedback from coaches. Well, let's start here right off the bat. Like, are you reaching out in the appropriate way? Like, are you just sending out form letters that are going to get lost in the shuffle? Are you following up with emails that don't get answered with something that's not another form letter, but something personal? Are you talking, are you trying to reach out to all the coaches on the coaching staff? Do you pick that phone up when they don't answer the voicemails? Like, how persistent are you? Right. And then beyond that, if they're doing the legwork, but they're not getting the feedback, well, it's beyond, okay, you're looking at this program. And if you look at their film, like, look at the quality of this skill that they're doing, we're not there yet. And these are the things that we need to be working on to get to that point. And these are the things that we could do at practice, and we will do at practice to make sure we get there, right? Our practices, it's backwards. I use games as a measuring stick, not the bar. All games are, for me, is an opportunity to identify what our kids are doing well, what they're not doing well. And it allows me to know next practice what the one or two main things at the beginning of the practice are that we're going to do, and then we're going to go play and try it again. And we're just constantly trying to raise that basement. It's kind of like cybersecurity, right? Like, if I'm coaching someone, I'm trying to figure out how I would break them. And then I'm trying to coach them in a manner with the goal of, making sure that if they keep putting the work in on that stops becoming such a weakness. So, I'm not going to tell you, like, we've had a couple girls that have left. I think we don't showcase. I'm happy to be a reference and contact a coach as soon as you've initiated contact, but I will not, like, sell kids to schools. And I also, like, we have girls that travel. I've got one pair, class of 26, that have done 5 tournaments this spring already, all over the country. But we don't do things where it's like, okay, we're bringing a group here to play against another group. And some parents and players, they like that part of the club series. And I'm not here to tell you that there's anything wrong with that, right? I have to be consistent on my end. I have to say the things we're going to do. I have to set realistic expectations of what we're going to hold them accountable for. And based off of that, as long as we're doing our part, I think the people that join our program are the ones that are willing to leave, the more common norm, but they can recognize that the norm isn't serving them. And they recognize that with us, they've got a program that truly is simply focused on, hey, how hard are you willing to work? And we're willing to work with you to try to help you get there.
Yeah, and there's also something to be said about playing games and diagnosing that allows you to be a better coach for practice reasons and stuff like that. I'll give you an example for some of my people, because as you know, the option is not just volleyball people, but for some of my people who don't know volleyball or are actually, I'll say it as a theater performer. There's a style of theater called Stanislavski, right, and Sanford Meisner, where if you, Bryan McDermand, if you get up and move across the room, you need a reason to, right? It's called goal, obstacle, tactics, expectation. And I talked to you a little bit about this in previous episodes. So bear with me, guys, but don't get undressed. So that's a style of theater. You need to get up and move across the room. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're not acting, blah, blah, blah. And then there's Michael Chekhov, not to be confused with Anton Chekhov, the Russian playwright. Michael Chekhov is an acting teacher, and his technique is get up, move across the room, come back. Move across the room again, come back. You didn't feel anything? Felt something a little bit to it again, right? And then through that process, they understand their why. And I don't know the study behind the technique, but I do know that when they get the why that way, the retaining of the knowledge is not something they have to think about. It's more organic because they're just doing it, right? And to me, I know I sound biased on which one I like more, but my biasness comes from two reasons, and I'm getting to a point again. One, if you're saying acting is not about writing or thinking, it's about doing. When you're going to start doing, right? And that's one. And two, it was better applicable to the people who are already adults or high IQ young actors. You know what I'm saying? Like because young people, you can't reflect on moving across the room. You're still young and dumb, and you're still figuring things out, right? And it's worked for older people because they it's weird. And enter volleyball, and that's the comparison I'm trying to make with the way you did your practice, right? Where you're diagnosing the why. Like for me, I would I'm a drills based guy more than a games based guy, but my approach to all of the drills is exactly the same. Get in there, have a good time, make yourself feel like an idiot, make mistakes, do something good, do something great, do something bad, and from there I kind of work with people individually, and they're like, oh, that, and then when I give them 1 or 2 pointers, they try it and it works immediately, and now all of a sudden, it's with them forever. Where even if they forget to do it in the game, they look at you and it's like, yeah, okay, got it. So I really, just as a side note, I really appreciated what how you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also
You know,
appreciate I also
go ahead.
appreciate that, and this is something people need to know about Bryan McDermand. If it's not about club volleyball, he does not care. All right, the man does not care. So this whole thing, like you're not out there reaching out to college recruiters. That's not your function. Your function is to make them volleyball players, right? The whole politics and things that come with that in someone's name, you don't care. You're just there to coach the volleyball people,
Well,
you knew that
one
consistency
footnote,
would help.
because I
Please.
got people that might be meeting me for the first time. Like, it's when I think what you're interpreting is like, I remember we had a conversation about like
Trans-
transgender athletes and MMA.
and you're like, why do
Like,
I care?
yeah, I don't care about that because that's not my MO, right? Like, I absolutely care about college with my kids. Like,
Right.
I'm actually shifting to do a lot more with college guidance.
Okay.
Because what I'm saying is I won't sell kids to colleges, right?
Mm.
But I'm very involved with once a kid has reached out to a school, like I want to build a relationship with that coach. And that's twofold. One, I want to make sure that I like what this coach is doing because they're not
Yeah.
naming names. There are a lot of college coaches that know the sport well and they played at a high level,
Hmm.
but when it comes to how they treat young individuals, like they're not good. It's what can you do for me? You're a cog in my machine. I'm trying to win games,
Right.
and so I have certain players that are really that have struggled in certain environments that thrived in ours, and I'm not going to tell you it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's what the compatibility is. So it's important for me, especially if I've got a kid that's coming in as a walk on my diamond in the rough. Like I want to be very transparent with that coach on like, if you're looking for a starter as a freshman, this isn't what you're looking for. And I don't want her to come on campus and then you're upset and you're not, and then she's upset because she's not having a good experience. Like it's important for me to be very honest with that coach about the pros and cons and these are kids that are still working on their game. As adults, we should still be working on our game. April Ross, I give two stats to people all the time now. April Ross was, the year she won the gold medal, she lost 46% of her plays. And look it up on BVV info. So 9 out of 20. So it's not about success failure, it's about adaptability. And she was 39 when she peaked. Think about that. 31, 35. She wasn't at the level she was at 39, right? So why for kids that are 17, 18, like not going to be a finished product. So, I want to make sure that I'm being very transparent with the coach on like, These are the things that have gone really well with the player. These are the things I've noticed that is a bit of a challenge for them. So be aware of that, because if you're not willing, if you're looking at this kid saying, what can they do for us right now, instead of like, I'm going to help mold them into what they can be, this might not be the right fit for you. Right. But I care about these kids. I mean, I try to, I don't have as much time as I used to, but like I try to watch them. I've gone to a couple kids. I have one girl that came all the way from Indiana to train with us, but she also plays club. So when she had a club tournament about half an hour away, I was happy to go to it and watch her. Like I've had kids that go to that, are do other things. I had one girl, I went to 3 musicals every year that she was in the musical at her high school. It was amazing. So when it comes to like my opinion on hot button topics, I talk travel 11 to 18U volleyball because that's what I know. And that's where I think that if someone at home is listening to me, that's where I provide value. But it's not, I have a lot of things I have thoughts on,
Yeah.
but I just try to
I
pick my
was
moments. I think a lot of us, if we stayed in our lane on certain things, it'd be a lot less, it'd be a
drama,
lot
a
more
lot less drama.
objective.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was making for. I was actually making reference to where you choose to expand your bandwidth. Okay, you have a huge bandwidth, and you can, if you allow yourself, you can spread yourself all over the place and be kind of part of everything. But you made this active choice on where a certain percentage of your bandwidth is, and which is why I always say that that's the guy who cares about this, and if it's important to him and you want to talk about that, he ain't gonna not listen, but he's about this life. I mean, it's weird. I could have just skipped all that. And April Ross, as far as she goes, I think April Ross peaked at 39 is because her IQ was where it needed to be at 39, and she still had
Yeah.
the physical body to do something about it. So,
Yeah.
so that's what peaking is about. Peaking is about knowing what you can do, and some people find out later in life, and it's like, God, and you always hear players say, "Oh my God, if I knew then what I know now," right? So,
Yeah.
I'm sure Reed Pretty felt that way at some point, even though he still wound up great. I feel that way every day of my life, because I was, as an indoor, I was a physical savage. I was what you call a freak. I'm 6'1", but my wingspan's 6'8". I'm lefty, which means I'm smarter than everybody else. And there's some of the things, when I moved here, puffing my chest out, thinking I knew stuff, and had to be humbled and had to learn their way, because my way still worked too. And this wealth of knowledge that I share, I get to share from you, get to share from people like John Mayer, Dane Blanton, Oz Borges, even young guys like Rob McLean. Like, wow, if I knew then what I knew now, I would be, I'd be more popular, because the best way for me to build my brand would have been through meritocracy. And the only thing you can do out here in volleyball meritocracy is to play, right? There's no single elimination competition for commentating. If there was, I'd have 2 forfeits all the way to the semifinals, because I know nobody want to mess with me. I mean, so but I wanted to point that out about April, because I thought that was a very interesting point. And I love that you mentioned April, because April's in my top 5, possibly top 4 greatest of all time list. You consider the partners who she played with, her finishes, and sometimes it's about playing volleyball, the best volleyball at the right time. Because that was her and April, her and Alex, which I didn't even think they came in. They came in number one seed, but they the last few tournaments they didn't look that hot, But yeah, I really really like what you said about uh, um kids being disappointed. And I want to continue to explore that subject by saying that, at what point, or do you set it up where you let the kids know it's going to be their own labor, and what they put into it, that's gonna help them. You can help them to a point, but like Mother Teresa once said, one must participate in one's own salvation, right? So is that something that they know coming in, or is that something where that conversation, where like the conversation started with, where this kid wanted to be here, but they're disappointed they're here. They want to play with that
Yeah.
person, but they end up playing with that person. How do you have that conversation with them? How do you get them to handle that? Because that's what you
Right
asked
off the
Dane, and that's
bat.
what I'm asking you.
I mean, next week I'm gonna group the girls up,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever the numbers are, let's say it's 20 kids. I'm gonna say, I'm not here to rank you 1 through 20. We're all here to push each other, to work hard. The coaches are here to help you. And the goal is, after 2 hours, collectively, do the 20 of us feel better than we did when we started,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the 2 things I ask for, and it's not a fluff thing, but I ask for your best effort and respect of one's peers. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's how we get better, right? And so I don't need people being self-conscious because other people are judging them because they're working through their mistakes. Because in volleyball, if you miss the ball by an inch, it goes a mile. So we need to support each other with stuff like that. And we need to feel like we can make mistakes without being judged, right? So we're here to help.
Some of these guys, but you're right. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, so a lot of our kids come to us and they struggle with this, not because they don't believe it or don't want to believe in it. It's not that they don't want to buy into it, but like so many kids are coming from organizations where they're not being taught how to do things right when they make mistakes, and they're being punished or yelled at or just put to the side, right? So kids are smart. And when they've had sometimes years of experience where when I make a mistake, this isn't a learning moment. It means I'm a failure. It means that kid's going to get the opportunity that I want because they did and I couldn't, right? It takes a lot of time for kids. And so from day one, like I've got to be consistent with that. I gotta buy into it. Like a lot of times, like I see, okay, we do a private lesson. Like I see a kid getting kind of nervous after 30 minutes, like we do a new skill and okay, this is the one that they're a little more self-conscious of. I'm like, hey, have I yelled at you yet? Have you been punished yet? No. Like, so this is your place to make glorious mistakes. And once you kind of get them, it's kind of almost like, I hate to say, kids are not animals, but like abused dogs, right? Like some of them that have been abused, it takes a little longer for them to trust, who they're with now.
Because some of them, man, they can't. Some of those dogs can't come back. It's crazy,
right? And but I think more kids than we give credit for. I think a lot of kids are looked at as not coachable, and I think they're very coachable, but they haven't been given the right environment to allow someone in. And obviously you're excited about that.
Thank you. Sorry, did I break your momentum?
Go
on.
We can sit awesome with that for a little bit. Like a lot of kids that come to us that at first glance may seem difficult after adversity, once they're given an environment that allows them to make mistakes, where they're allowed to talk to a coach. Like some kids look so uncomfortable when I ask after a mistake, what'd you feel there? And it took me a long time to learn that uncomfortability was literally that, like, is it okay for me to say what I felt? Am I going to get chewed out if I say the wrong thing? You know what I mean? So there's really not that many. I mean, most kids that come to our program, I'm not going to tell you they're all going to be college athletes. I'm not going to tell you they're all going to get to a certain level. But our goal is simply to help kids find the best version of themselves. And I think we've had a lot of success with a lot of kids. Again, we've got 2 seniors that are graduating. They couldn't make their high school team. They're going to go play collegiate ball. Like, what more example do you need on that? We've got a girl that just finished her freshman year at a D2 beach school. She, as a true freshman, won 17 matches. She played 10 years of club and couldn't even make a starting lineup for her club team at 17. And she was never allowed to pass. And within 2 years, kids starting and winning. There's girls that never play in college. 94% of girls that make their high school team don't play in college. A lot of those girls that make college don't play. And you certainly don't see a lot that even win 17 matches in their entire career, let alone their freshman year. So I just, you know what I mean? I think the biggest challenge right now is, now that, I don't want to get out too much on the soapbox. I'm just going to make the point and then move on from it. Youth sports has become so much. I could do the
soapbox part.
I know, but I'm with you today. I don't want to talk about all the things that are wrong, but simply put, youth sports today is being treated like a for-profit industry. It is a $37 billion. Youth sports is a $37 billion industry. 4 years, pandemic through that, it doubled. It was $19 billion in 2019. It's set to double again, and it's not because we're trying to put the money back into the product and make sure we've got technical coaches. And not only are they technical, but they understand how to talk with kids when they're struggling with stuff. But here's a real simple thing. You ever coach a kid where they get nervous and you see their hands kind of, sorry, I gotta get
show me.
I get this right. Like they start playing with their hands. Seriously. I didn't notice. I've been coaching 21 years. This is something I learned like 2 or 3 years ago. But if you watch a kid when you're giving them feedback and you're seeing them playing with their hands, like that's an anxious tick. Like what that's telling me is they've made a mistake. They're not angry or frustrated. They're nervous, right? And here we are as mentors with the opportunity at a lot of times to sit with them and say, hey, like life's going to go on. You missed a leather ball. It's okay, right? But what you feel like, how do we get the result we want, right? How many kids have that nervousness and they're not trying to make mistakes, but this is not something that's natural to them. It's not something that they have a proficiency with. And a coach screams at them, punishes them, excludes them. And then we wonder why that kid doesn't play with confidence, doesn't play with energy. Like they're hesitant. They're always trying to not make mistakes instead of they're trying to make the play. And that's something that I think we don't take enough ownership of as coaches, as a collective body of coaches. And we're part of some of the same forums of like, yeah, some of these kids are very difficult to work with at 11, 12, 13, 14, because they've never experienced failure in the way that their first youth sports experience provides. And so that's where we earn our keep. This is where we get to teach young people that it's not about not making mistakes. Again, gold medalist, 9 out of 20. It's about how do we respond to those mistakes? What do we take from them? Like, if I get a team that loses, I don't want to punish them. I don't want to yell at them. The loss is the punishment because no one goes into a competition excited to lose, And so, the least we can do is when you lose, like, what's the lesson? What did that team do that you weren't prepared for? And what can we do at practice so that you get another shot at them? You're ready to handle it. Or what just broke down on our side? What got confusing? What do we struggle with physically? And what do we need to do to go back to practice? If you can create a culture where kids don't fear the loss, first of all, they're going to play looser. They're going to play more free, right? And two, like we get lessons out of those experiences so we get to try it again. Because that's, I was very lucky to in 2013, I won the Midwest Championships, right? I won a lot in the Midwest for about 2 years, but I got my butt kicked up the ladder for the first 7 years, right? So I just think it's so sad knowing that we have these big tournaments with hundreds of kids and the record's going to be 500 no matter how they all work, that we've simplified it to if you win, it's good. If you lose, it's bad. And the fact that kids are validating or invalidating themselves based off of what they're doing compared to others instead of looking at others and simply saying, okay, like, I beat Billy Kalinsky the last 2 times I played him. He beat me the first 15. But every time I played him, it gave me something to figure out that I need to work on before I ran into him inevitably. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Your supercomputer. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank, I mean it, like, we had some feisty battles. I'm so glad that he and Kyle Buckley, those two, I needed them to help me push myself to be the absolute best. Because if I was just beating lesser talented players, I never would have kept fine tuning those little things. But those two, that was the rabbit I had to chase. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like one thing. It was like we fixed one thing, then they countered with something else, and we fixed something. By the end of that rivalry, if you could call it that, maybe it was more competitors because they were winning more often than not. But boy, did I get a lot better. And it wasn't from all the wins I had leading up to those semis and finals. It was because of those lessons that they taught us. So like, okay, this is what you've done to be successful against them, but we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, depending on the age group, and you mentioned 11s and 12s or this or that, the fact of the matter is, the historical fact of the matter is that the first time that these kids actually experience some kind of loss, most likely will be in a sporting event, right? So as coaches, we have to guide them through that because this might be the first time that they know what it feels like to lose, right? I mean, on different levels, maybe in school, grades, and this and that, but in a sporting event, volleyball or whatever, you could hear me, right? Might be the first time that they experience not just the loss, but the grief and the disappointment or the self-analysis and all that stuff that comes with winning and losing. And this is why, can you appreciate why I toot my own horn? Can you appreciate that you have coaches out there like you that look at a girl and say, little girl, don't let anybody tell you what you can and what you can't do, right? Because that starts too, right? You were talking about a type of coach that yells at someone, that snubs them, that eventually sideline them, and maybe even creates an atmosphere where these are the girls that are good, they should hang out together. These are the girls that are not so good, they should have a little group together, right? And then you don't really have a sisterhood. You might be looking the wrong way when maybe there's other things, other variables, right? That happen where you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming, and you didn't see that coming because you I'm just going to be real and judgy about this. You as a coach should have seen it coming, and you didn't. You missed it. You missed it. Well, and sometimes you get lucky, right? And sometimes you don't because you missed it. And we're going to miss everything. But as far as coaching players and skill set, there's some things we're gonna miss, but there's some things that you miss that you can control, that you can diagnose, that I really want to highlight. Go ahead. Sorry, Brian. You have a thought?
No, you're good. I'm good to segue from where you're at on
I
that.
All right. Last summer, at LAVBC, Jason gave me the gym on Sundays. Open train. It's called Open Gym, right? Ages 13 to 17 years old. You can you need more. If we're with another club, you want to get more reps, fine, right? You never played the game before, so here I am in a room with maybe 6 girls. It's a small group, only an hour and a half, and 3 of them never played before, right? Maybe 2 or 3 of them are really good, and some of them are in the middle. And I create this atmosphere where everybody embraces each other, right? It's like sometimes you have the skilled players are like, I ain't coming back next week. I ain't got the patience for this. But no, if you do it right, you got and you're doing a passing drill. You got the experienced girls saying, "Oh my God, so good, so good. You sure you haven't played before?" And they're all back the next week. I had a girl that never played the game, and she wanted to try it for a high school team. And then I helped her with that. She made her high school team. She ended up starting. She was like this undersized middle with this killer vertical. Her reach was like 9 feet 10, right?
Yeah.
And she was only like 5'4", and ended up playing with me at my club. And there was a little politics thing that went on as far as what position she played and when she started, and I won't get into that because I'm always going to give Jason Olive more credit than I do not, my program director, and the coaching staff. But my point is, this is a girl that never even played, that learned how to play through the summer tryouts, that got more training and more time and made our high school team, which out here, even Division II is competitive, So,
Hmm.
so
Well,
when
let's
we had that
can I
conversation, please interject.
okay. So, let me, and some people know the story, but here's my background, man. When I this is true. I was 5'5", 95 pounds with a size 12 shoe when I went to
I
high
was gonna
school.
say, tell them the shoe size.
Size 12 shoe, right? So let me be a little more specific on my so fifth through eighth grade, I'm with my dad is coaching my youth sports basketball team. He's the one that line about youth sports is first kids with dealing with failure and teaching them how to work through it ultimately helps them in their education, their relationships, their careers. Like my dad, even as a fifth or eighth grade middle school volunteer coach, as much as I've gotten to work with some titans in the coaching industry, his philosophy is the core of what I do. I left my junior high feeling very good about myself. And when I got to high school, I was a big-footed kid. I got cut from basketball, and then volleyball was the first year we had a team. So there wasn't really cuts. I made JV, and I'm working my ass off. Like I am like every conditioning drill. It's like I'm wearing my dad's shoes, but I am hustling to outrace. Like I'm beating people not because I'm better, but because I'm wanting it more. And for 7 games, they bring me up to dress for varsity too. Um, my coach literally used me as an opportunity to bully me. And at the 20-year high school reunion, I talked to some other. He had coached the girls basketball team, and one of my middle school classmates. I hadn't talked to her in 20 years. I had no idea she quit sports altogether because of his treatment of her. And that's saddened me because Erin was by far one of the best athletes at our age group that I think of her, I think athlete. So, you know, 4 years after playing in high school, I mean, I'll be honest, I had low self-esteem. I didn't want to be here. I had no drive, and I stopped playing. I didn't think I was ever play the sport again. So, luckily, at the community college, run into Bob Vilsaway at Harper, who just got inducted to the Junior College Hall of Fame, who through a random, like I went to do computer science class. They said, get to know the person next to you as a girl on the volleyball team. That's why I went to the game and I hopped on the court after and I hit a ball and he saw it and he said, I'm always looking for managers. That's how lucky I was to get back into the sport. That interaction has led to me as a coach player going to 39 states and twice across the border. It has led to me literally being able to meet thousands of people, including my soulmate and most of the people that will stand up in our wedding. It has allowed me to give back and work with hundreds, if not thousands of people after the last 2 decades. And I almost missed out on all of it because of one mentor that didn't know how to do his job. And that's how I'm going to put it. Didn't know how to do his job. And I just am so the reason I do what I do and the reason I'm trying to get people to consider if their kids are getting that experience that I got in high school versus middle school is because I think we have a lot of kids that are on the other side of what you were talking about. We have a lot of kids that are walking away from youth sports feeling quite the opposite of that resilience and confidence that we're supposed to be doing. We have a lot of kids that are walking away being taught if you don't bring the same value as your bigger, faster, stronger peer, no matter how much time you put in and money you put in, you're not worthy of the same opportunities. And I think youth sports is not about where you are. It's about where you want to go and how hard you're willing to work for it. And yeah, I just wonder how many other kids we have kids. Again, I think about those two girls that are going to play in college that didn't make their high school team because they weren't given an environment that saw the best in them and encourage that and nurture. And sometimes when a kid is down on themselves, that's our job to know you can be something. And I see coaches that are taking kids that could be something and telling them they're nothing. And, so I would love to see people in power doing something to regulate it. But I also think that a lot of people in power, money is about quantity of participants, not quality of instruction. So unfortunately, again, with things being about money, we just aren't prioritizing the kids, and the people up top have no incentive to prioritize the kids. So the only way we're going to get change is if parents start taking a step back and saying, am I willing to take the road less traveled? Because if I'm really being honest with myself and my kid, that's our best chance to help my kid get the peak potential. Because at the norm, there's a supply of good coaches and there's a huge demand above it. And if you're not a certain level, you have to go outside the box to get an opportunity because the normal system certainly didn't serve me. And, again, you're looking at someone, I'm not saying, I never made it to an AVP main draw. I wasn't an Olympian or anything like that. I would love to find a success story of someone that started as that 5 foot size 12 kid that I think at my peak, I was ranked in the top 70 for USA volleyball. I took matches off, I beat the Baumgrens one time. I beat Billy a couple times. Like, I don't want to see anyone, it doesn't have to be volleyball. I just don't want to see kids missing out. And it concerns me when parents are paying to get mentorship that kind of treats kids the opposite.
Look, it's, wow, there's so many layers to that, right? Like, look, let me start from adult and then I'll peel it back to kids, right? A lot of these adult players, some of them, for example, LMU, 100% growth mindset, 100% positive reinforcement, and look how far he's gone, right? Getting all his recruits stolen, always in the NCAA picture. Hasn't really lost to WCCs since 2019. They beat Pepperdine in 2019 from the losers bracket. Had to do it not once but twice. And hasn't lost that conference championship yet, which by the way I think is an automatic bid now. And I know because I was with him, right? And then you have my volleyball mentor, Aldis Lucis, who's from Latvia, right? And that's a different environment, right? They make you learn Latin and beat you half to death in a single-sex environment, right? And that creates this volleyball Darwinism where only the strong survive and the other girls, probably wind up in a mental institution, or maybe their parents are smart enough to be like, they ain't got to take this and they're out of here, right? Now, you're talking about two different ways of coaching that produce an equal, almost equal level of success. But I will say this: the ones who are on some champ stuff are the ones that had a mixture of both. The head coaches that are saying, "Look, I believe you can do this. These are your options." And the thing that makes you a good coach is you're always looking forward. You're almost always glass half full. Where it took me a long time to get there. Right, because I learned how to play a different way. I cut my teeth in Darmstadt, Germany, for a military team first. Well, you ain't gonna find a whole lot of positive reinforcement and growth mindset in that level. But you know what? They produce soldiers. They produce Navy SEALs. They produce the best warriors in the Spec Ops community. So I'm not going to get on this soapbox about which one's better and which one's worse. I will only say two things. One, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And two, no championship team exists exclusively on one or the other. But we're not talking about that. So now I'm going to go to kids. We're not talking about making champions. We're talking about making players, right? And if they want to become champions, you as a coach can help guide them through that, right? And that goes back to me. That goes back to me saying, if this is what they want, one, you got the right guy for the job. It's Bryan McDermand and it's Jason DeBeers, because I'm the guy that's always going to tell you don't let nobody tell you what you can and can't do, right? And I know the people that followed our episodes before. I'm going to say this again. You're 5'9". Oh, but most of the coaches are looking for a 6'2" outside hitter. But if that's what you want, I'm gonna give you your reality. I'm gonna say, yo, it's 150 meters for that 100-meter dash, right? But if it's what you really want, that's the box. That's the jumping box. This is the coach. And let's check all your boxes and take care of things you can control. And once you get to the limits of those things, push it further and further as far as you can. Because for me, the only thing I could teach these kids is that when they get older, I'd rather have you freaking do it and regret it than regret not doing it at all, because some jerk off, lined up kids against the wall. You're tall, you're a libero. No, you're not tall enough. You're not. Just predetermining their future, and the kids. Oh, they might be the only authority. You might be the only authority that kid knows, so they're gonna believe you.
Absolutely. And
I'm always gonna respect guys like you. Bruce White Sands said, if a coach ever did that, I'd fire him. From New Orleans, right? Jamie from New Orleans. I'm going New Orleans all day, all night. Colin Henry. I'm gonna do a little tour. Colin Henry, New York City Juniors. Yoel Sanchez, Legacy Volleyball, one of the best juniors coaches in the country. No one talks about. Holly McPeak. There's a name we know, but she's a real one, man. She's a real coach, presenting the girls their option. I think she's at Elite Beach Volleyball, right?
Yep.
Pompeo Mercadante, who is Theo Berner's coach, but is a really, really good motivational juniors coach. So I'm just dropping names, and if I forgot some of the names, cool. But these are the coaches we need if we want our sport to get better. These are the coaches that need to be included in all these situations instead of the rock stars if you want volleyball to get better. You have these little bullcrap signs, grow the game, grow the game. How about you do your part and grow the game and allow people and have these conversations where we can share these new ideas and make everybody better.
What's cool is 3 weeks ago, I went out to Maryland. I've got a friend, John Crinny, and I've brought him up on the podcast. He runs Tryout Volleyball Club. And I finally got an opportunity to go out there and do some work with them. And it was the first time, I've known that it's been out there, but it's the first time in a long time that I felt like there was, like looking next to me, I'm like, ooh, there's someone in the trenches with me. They run one team per age group. They've got 5 teams. They have 3 coaches per court or team, because that's what non-for-profit when you're actually putting it back into it. We had such a good time. The Thursday, it was their last indoor practice of the year, but they wanted to do kind of an intro to outdoor. So even though we were in the gym, I was kind of just teaching them different concepts. We were talking about like 4s versus 6s and stuff like that. And then Saturday, they did end of the season potluck for all the girls. And they played, it was like at a little gym, and they played different waves of games. There was a Queen of the Beach. There were prizes at the end for each. There was 14s and 15s were together, and then 16s through 18s. But it was just, I sat in the stands that day and I talked with a bunch of the parents, and we're watching the play, and everyone's just no one cares about wins and losses. Everyone's getting better. I'm watching my buddy Crinny like a madman. Like he's literally doing play-by-play for like an hour, like just yelling out what's going on as he's like gassing people up when they do good stuff. And to your point, like, there might be some new podcasts coming out at some point. And I'm with you. We haven't had a platform to put those people on the map. So maybe we need a platform. We need to build that platform. Maybe
I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part.
You're doing great with interviewing people. But what if there was a podcast designated specifically to talk with people that are doing youth sports in an ethical manner? Specifically, when all these parents feel like I have to join this because there's no healthy alternative. Well, what if we showed throughout the nation all the people that meet that criteria and talk specifics about like how the tryouts work, like how they train their coaches, like the thing that was most impressive, I mean it, of all the things when I was on that trip. So we finished the potluck, and what I'm literally doing, we're at the end of the season. Like it's over. They just finished their season. So we go, tie a couple on. So and most organizations I've been a part of, like immediately, like they're already before the season ends thinking about tryouts. And despite the fact that they have 5 teams and they've got 3 coaches per team, like we're literally sitting there brainstorming, like bolstering their coaching staff the following year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I watched them do, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10 job. And all these people want to do is like, how can we do it better for the kids?
Yeah.
And I know there are directors all over the place that are doing it, but like me and them and all those other people, it's like, can anyone with a platform in our sport start talking about this? But again, if you're if you're a platform in our sport, if you're a governing body, if you're a big program, like your money is tied to how many people participate. And you don't get more people to participate by being honest and saying, you know what? Certain levels of travel and payments and year-round competition might not be for everyone. And 47 out of 50 of you are not going to play in college. I think of that in a positive way. How do we provide value for those 47 out of 50? Can I provide college guidance for you, even if you're not going to play in college, to at least teach you how to think about what's important to you for post-college, how to find schools that'll help you find that, and how do you maximize your merit aid package, right? I help give guidance to kids, even if they're not going to play college volleyball. And in some cases, one of my last girls that I was giving guidance to as a senior, she decided to go to a school that had a very good beach volleyball program. She wanted to play in college, but I have so much respect for her that she had the understanding of, this is a great school for my academic goals. It's a good price. And you know what? She's going to be in Florida. Like, I'm going to help her network. So if she wants to play volleyball with the adult scene, she can do that. Right. So,
They're doing some good things out there, man.
yeah. So it's just, I just think we need to start highlighting the people that I'm not the only one out there. And so I'm happy to look for the people. Like, if anyone's listening to this and you're like a director or coach, you're like, yes, I believe in all this. Get my contact information, reach out to me. Let's talk shop. I'm looking for allies.
Or I'll do one better. How about a 4-way, right? I've done a lot of 4-ways. I did one with 4 college coaches, right? Joe Rich, who's at the
you talked to me
level.
About the one. I'm ready for that.
Well,
one.
I'm getting to
Absolutely.
that, but I did. Joe Rich is at Davis, right? Todd Rogers is at Cal Poly.
Former Midwest guy.
Mark Fish guy, East Coast guy, U.S. volleyball team. John Kessel, who needs no introduction. And then
really enjoyed Fish's interview with you, by the way. That was the first time I'd ever listened to him talk. I immediately really appreciated that guy. I've never got to work with him before that or heard of him.
Mensch. He's what you call a mensch.
Big fan.
Yeah, we did a little one-on-one.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the hell that's all about? No, I'm sorry. I got to silence this. That's what's going on. I have to do that.
Are you hearing something?
No, my do not disturb. And there was a sign that popped up on our thing. I just wanted to make sure Zoom wasn't messing with us. No, but okay, I did on the collegiate level, right? You had Fish, you had Joe Rich, because Fish coached at Rutgers. You had Joe Rich, who's currently coaching at Todd Rogers. At the high school indoor level, I had Leon Blazer from Texas, from Houston All-Stars, who's like who turned into a big name there. He's about your age, but he's a savage. He's doing savage things like you. So he represented Texas, East Coast, Colin Henry, and then Ashley Clark from Surfside, formerly of SEVC. So we had a 4-way. So that's California, Texas, New York, and me, right? And I'm trying to set up these 4-ways where one person has a platform, where they're well known in their region, if not the United States. And the 4th one, I was thinking Holly, because Holly's got street credit and a platform, represent California U. And Bobby Jones, who has almost a completely different mission than you at Project Sir, but the method and how he's coaching is the same. The same. So look, you want to be better coaches, start. I'm going to go in no particular order. Midseason evaluations. You need to have the scale, on a scale of 1 to 5, the 6 fundamentals where they are: passing, digging, hitting, blocking, serving, and setting. Have those 6 on a scale of 1 to 5. Be brutally honest. And if you're not sure if there are 3 or 4, there are 3 because you can make them work. And then in the same evaluation, 3 things where you showed significant improvement. Pick 3 things, and it could be from the neck up or whatever. And then 3 things where they need where you'd like to see them get better. In those words, if you have to. You want me to guide you through it like a child? Say it in those words. Things where you need where I would like to see you get better, because that's that. Not 3 things where you suck. Know how to talk to your kids. And then have a bottom line. If there's a professional sentiment or even a personal sentiment that reminds you, hey, when I was a kid, you're doing all these things. Like Jason Olive's daughter, Kalyani, one of the best 16s I ever met. I said, I've never met a human being as kind as her in my entire life. Adult or kid. I've never, Jason and I, we have ego identity issues, but man, did he get it right with that kid. She is, so there's an example of how no matter what level the kid is, whether they want to go to college or whether, they want to get bang for their buck, mid-season evaluations and pouring that in, the parents can sit in if they want. I leave it up to the kid. I'm like, if you don't want your parent there, they ain't coming, right? Here's another method. Ruth Nelson, one of the most legendary coaches in the history of volleyball. BYOP, okay?
Yep.
Right? That doesn't mean bring your own pizza. It's bring your own parents. And I don't know if you know something about that. You could definitely take the floor, but basically she
and I, she and I connected like 6 or 7 years ago, but
she's amazing.
One of the things that
she's amazing.
One thing that I don't have in my program is something for young kids. And I have I'm getting to that age where a lot of my friends have kids about that age. So definitely if we ever do something below 11, she's going to be my first call. And I've got the utmost respect for her.
Do you know why I respect her? And do you know why I get into this whole hierarchy thing? How comfortable do you have to be in your own skin? Because there are some coaches, they don't even want parents in there because they think parents are going to be the biggest enemy of a player's progression. And sometimes they're right, but sometimes that's because of the coach, right? When I was coaching LAVBC the first year, there was a gym and there was a bench where the parents could sit, and they're like, are parents allowed to come into this gym? And I didn't know the answer was no. And Jason didn't know. And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. And the parents watched me coach. And you have to have a level of comfortability under your own skin where the parents are like that. And some of these high-level parents, everyone's like, oh, my God, if the parent played, I'm nervous. No. I coached Donovan Ivey, who's Brian Ivey's nephew, and Donovan's father, and Brian played at USC together. Brian Ivey played in the Olympics. They don't say anything. Sarah Stratton, who was in the Olympics for Australia, representing Australia, right? Also won an AVP championship in Michigan. She beat Holly and Linda Hanley when she won. Coached her son, Zach, who is a setter. So the higher the level of the parents, the more you're not going to get a whole lot from them, meaning that they know you, even if they disagree, that you're doing your job. Please keep that thought. You can bust in because I don't want you to forget your thought.
I mean, our parents are, like I said, our parents get to watch the session. We try out for the kids, not the other way around. They're the customers, right? And I let my parents watch. The only and I can think of like 3 or 4 people where we had one situation, told them the situation, and they were good after that. Which was, it was most of the time it was a dad being playful after a kid made a mistake and saying something to him. But my whole thing is like, hey, I'm trying to get your kid not to be self-conscious about mistakes. And here you are, as whether they admit it or not as a teenager, like you are one of the biggest influences on their validation and confidence. And I'm trying to get them to learn from their mistakes, and you're literally teasing them for it with good intent, right? Yes. But like you're here because I think parents should be able to watch, even if the kid doesn't want, because they're cutting the check, right? And the thing I kind of say and I've had a couple kids that get nervous. I've had parents out of respect that have like hidden in the corner to watch from a distance. My whole thing is like, I need to build that kid. My job is to get the kid comfortable being uncomfortable. And look, if you're trying to play in a high school, even just if that's your ceiling of what you want, well, you better believe there's going to be a parent or two in the stands. And when you play at away matches, like kids at away match high school games are harsher than like pretty much everywhere else I've gone. Like there's a pretty harsh heckling that goes on, especially if the AD isn't doing their job. So like I need to make sure that the parent is acting in a way that kid doesn't be self-conscious about mistakes. If I see body language on both parties where it's like, okay, I need to regulate this, then I'll do so. But you know what?
But if you,
I think, go ahead.
Bryan, if you trust your ability as a coach, and I've done this for different levels and different teams. If you present yourself as someone that knows what they're doing and you have a protocol, at this time we're doing this, at that time we're doing that, you know what's going to happen? The parents are going to treat it like a movie because they already see the characters and the stories being written. So the more prepared you are as a coach in your practice and process and
Mm-hmm.
technique, the more the parents treat that like a fourth wall. And then at some point the kids don't even know the parents that are there anymore because they're just whatever, right? So I hold that. I don't want to sound all judgy, but I hold that on the coach, man. Sometimes some of these coaches, they have things they want to do in practice, but the way they prepare it, and once you start saying, man, you're screwed. Once you're like, and doing this, and you got these moments, you got to know what you're doing right away, man. And
Well,
maybe that's a type of coach too. Again, I don't want to be all judgy about it, but the times where I had parents come in, it was a fourth wall. I didn't even know till it was over. You
well,
know?
and I'll tell you, let's go a different layer of this. I want parents to be there because if parents don't buy into what we're doing, I want them to have the ability to say, this isn't what we're looking for.
Right.
Like I had a girl,
Hmm.
dad was a former D1 pitcher. She was in eighth grade. She was having a lot of shoulder issues. Came from another program, and I don't think they were doing the right things. So, he was watching practice, and he was just I could tell he wanted her to play more. And I felt with what the workload she was doing, and he was having her try to play club and beach. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't want her swinging when she's in eighth grade and she's already having issues, you know?
Hmm.
And and he wasn't satisfied. I was comfortable letting him leave the program. I think where that gets a little trickier in indoor, it's not even about secure. It's if I lose my setter in January of my club season, that literally does affect everyone else's performance. So like I
100%.
shamelessly, like I took the easier. I don't think you can give me a blank check and a facility, and I'm going to struggle after a certain amount of kids to run a club where everyone gets fed because in indoor you do need all the pieces to fit, and that's really hard. And
Yeah.
I get it for high school, I get it for college, right? But for developmental training is what I'm going to call it. I don't want to call it club or travel ball. For developmental training, like I shifted to doubles because I don't think I can look a parent and player in the eye in indoor. I can tell them I'm going to try to give everyone equal opportunity for development. It doesn't work that way. And it does make it harder when certain kids don't show up or aren't doing their job because it affects everyone. So it's nice with doubles and fours because if certain people can't make it, like it doesn't affect, okay, well, it's not like, okay, we don't have certain positions. Everyone does everything. So it's just a matter of who plays with who.
Yeah.
And a lot of times someone will show up, sweet, more reps for everyone else. Like we want a full group, but
Mhm.
I'm happy to run a smaller practice and give everyone a little more individual attention.
Yeah,
So
and it's also harder to control the room, unless you've been doing it for a long time with sixes. Doubles, you get the people spaced out. They're easy to diagnose. Like you see someone's footwork. You've been doing it long enough, you see it right away. And the
that's an
same thing.
excellent point. I never even thought of that. I'll be honest with you.
And this, yeah,
You're able to give more specific coaching to the people on the court because there's literally a third of the amount of people. Like you got two eyes and 12 players and sixes. That's of all the times I've talked about the benefits of beach. I never thought of that. Like being in an environment where there's less people on the court allows the mentors to have more opportunities to focus on what a kid's doing. Because a
yeah.
lot of this game is what are you doing when the ball's not to you,
I think
right?
I think what I was trying to say is it's easier for a coach to scan that because, like you said, it's a third, right? And
Yeah,
I was also trying to
I like
say
that.
for indoor, you can do it too, but it takes a special kind of coach, and that
Well,
special kind of
you
coach
could
requires years and
you
years and years to be able to diagnose that almost the same way.
well you can try, but if I clone myself and I've got 1-2s practice and 1-6s practice, well, I could be going just as aggressive scanning.
Right.
There's 3 times as many people in one group in two
Yeah.
hours.
Hmm.
It's just the data, it's the math of it.
How
So
do you?
that
Why do you think I live in a video room like a hermit? I take my job. That's
No,
Dude,
man, that's
it's
correct.
my
I
biggest
never,
strength
I
and my
never thought
biggest
that's such an
weakness.
interesting
Yeah.
aspect of it. I mean, again, people pay more for private lessons, right?
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's why and that's why we've always kept our like I'll put 12 on a court for fours. I'll put 8 on a court. I'll register for the summer 10, but with camps and kids playing nationals, like we never have a full squad. You know, I
Right.
think I had one girl last summer that made every practice for our summer. So,
But
but
this
no,
is this
that's
is an
it's interesting.
example of commanding running a drill, diagnosing, and commanding a room. All right. I moved to California, 19 years experience. Nobody cares. You're starting over, dude. Right. So
Mhm.
I'm at a club called Evolution. The program director is Duncan Avery, who at the time was the head coach at Redondo Union High School. So just drawing a picture for everybody, the gym, they have this window like that's like 20 feet above the court where the parents can look and see. So here I am with my Yankee hat, right? Nobody knows me, like, and you know, as a club coach, a lot of the girls who graduate, whatever, become your coaches because they know your system and any guidance you need to give them if you're a control freak or whatever. So Duncan Avery, it's the same setup, except I was the first adult experienced coach that he hired, right? You know, and all of his kids played NCAA volleyball. Lewis Richard won an NCAA championship at Long Beach State. Okay, my point. So I'm looking up and I see these parents and I'm like, hey, hi, you know, and I say hi and they're just right. They don't say anything back, right? So I'm like, guys, let's just run a simple BS drill. And they're like, BS? I said, yeah, bump set. So basically, I bowl, and you're playing position 3, 4, 5, and 6. You're passing to the target. Whoever's in the setter spot sets a 4. They're approaching, they're walking, and then they just take two hands and they put it to deep 6 and 5. And then from there, 6 and 5 call for it. They pass target. So it's 8 people, 4 people on each side of the court. And if you have more people, they just rotate in. And it's this drill that they think at their age, you know, 16s, you know, Redondo kids, they're like, this is a stupid drill, right? So I said, so I start my watch because it's this, and you'll love this. Because when you start your watch, and for everybody listening, give them 60 seconds before this drill falls apart. It's this stupid drill. This is easy. Why are we doing this? Start your watch at 60 seconds. And before you even hit 40 seconds, you know what happens? Set becomes too tight. Guy's not jumping. He has to do this. Person's didn't like the pass before. He's adjusting. He shoots the ball tight. He's shooting this kid shoots the ball out of system. The setter's not squaring his shoulders. He's doing this, right? And if he has mad skill, it'll get to the location, but he creates a margin for error where it's going to go tight or it's going to go behind the hitter's head. So squaring to the pole out of system, squaring shoulders to the net. So in 40 seconds, the ball hits the ground. Because you're just trying to keep this ball up. It's a one-ball drill, guys, for 60 seconds. You just want to keep the ball up. The ball does not hit the ground. Do this drill for 60 seconds. They can't do it. 35 seconds in, boom. 35 seconds in, boom. 20 seconds in. And now I bring everybody together. I'm like, you're going to listen to me now. You know, and I'm like, yeah. And I said, now you're going to come into this drill. So we do a BS drill. You come into the drill. This today is a passing thing. You're picking hold. I want you to hold. I want you straight and simple. You straight and simple. I want you one move to the ball. You're midlining. You know, you're going out of your way to midline a faster ball. Don't do it. Just one move. And now I look up at the parents, and the parents go, you know, and it didn't come from me teaching them this magical elixir that's going to turn their kid into a college All-American. It was a stupid BS drill. for
But
all
was
of
it?
it was, huh?
But was it though? Like,
No,
I think
no
I'm told
BS.
this.
It's called BS because it looks like BS, but
Yeah,
it's called
but you say
bumps.
like, but you're
But it's
saying it's
called
a,
bump
but
set.
you're saying it's a little drill. And you know what did Karch say? There are no little things. They're
Yeah.
big and they're huge, and we don't do them
No,
correct. And
but in first glance, it's perceived to be something that's simple.
yeah, well, like you said,
But
like the
do it for
people that were
60.
watching it,
Yeah.
I remember.
But
I
all
know
of
I
those
told this.
parents that are former players, they got it. I'm like, if my kid's that good, and if this guy with the Yankee hat thinks he knows what he's talking about, why can't my kids do this drill for 60 seconds? If my kid's all that, you know, and you know, we're gonna know more about the coach. He's got to earn our respect. You're talking about me earning your respect, right? Your kid can't do this drill for 60 seconds. You want me to show you how or not? And so that was the authority I set up. And then you start giving, and you as a coach, because like you said, it was a game mode thing. And now you as a coach, now you get to fix it because you let them walk across the room and come back
Yeah.
without a reason.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, again, I love the idea of teaching kids like losses are lessons, lost points are lessons, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, I think there's not a lot of ego because sand doubles, there's no one that comes in the sand that just is able to do it all. You know what I mean?
No.
Like even the most talented kids that come, there's always things to work on. Like, you know, and not like I can hop on the court still. I'm, you know, getting close to 40, but when Kristen was playing with Jess, who just finished her freshman year at Arizona, won 20 games as a true freshman, had a great season. Like, I'm still winning 80-90% of the games against them going, you know, I make a good female blocker at 6'3", even though I was a defender when I competed. So, you know, I'm never trying to establish credibility, but there's not a kid in my program. And again, that's a nice thing with doubles because I can't necessarily do that in sixes, but in doubles, as long as I've got one partner, I can hop on the court. And there will be a day where I'm going to have a player that I can't necessarily beat that way. But for now, there's not a player in my program that I can't put on the court and exploit certain things, and not in a bully or you know,
No, of course.
just to kind of, I want them to feel the discomfort, and then I want to talk about it after the game and then guide them on like, hey, this is when you play against me and I do this again, this is what you're giving me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you I shoot 95% plus of the time. You know, I've got a cutty, I got a high line shot, I can hide it. Like, and what I get is kids that just want to, a lot of defenders, I think they want to guess. You know what I mean? They don't trust their speed. And so teaching, like, I'll tell them, like, I am going to hit where you're not. So the moment I see you with my peripheral go one way, I'm going to snap at the other. I'm not going to hit hard. I won't need to because the sand's going to work against you.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to trust your speed. And then you add the extra element of like, read the tightness of the set. Because if it's super tight, you got to shift tighter. Not that I won't go deep, but if I go deep on a tight ball, I'm going to have to arc it and you'll have time to chase it, right? And I think that's a big thing for a lot of the kids coming from sixes is when you're only covering a sixth of the court, you don't have to chase. You know what I mean? You might take a step, or after someone gets the dig, you might pursue a ball. But I think a lot of kids are so ingrained in like the ball's going to come to where they're at versus like they need to literally take some steps to go get it. It just takes time for it. So
yeah, well, for indoor and beach, I mean, beach most of the time you use your power to set up your shoot anyway, right? You're not going to use your shoot to set up your power, depending on who you are.
Oh, no. You got it backwards, man. I would absolutely set up my shot to set up my power. I mean, maybe at the pro level, I get it because you got the physicality, but like, here's the deal. I got a lot.
Again, the BS drill can be done with hitting, like cooperative hitting, instead of just like putting the ball over, right? So there's a level to that drill too, right? You could just start with just jumping it out, or just down ball, right? You know.
Yeah, but my point is like in you know, if we're gonna talk some doubles philosophy, like, okay, I've got kids that with a block up don't have the size to like hit hard driven and beat the block and the defender, right? Mm-hmm. But if I can teach them the Theta Camacho style, I teach them a really gnarly cutty, I teach them a good high line shot, and they can keep the blocker up and shoot wherever that poor defender isn't. And then the moment you get that block to start pulling off the net, that's when you start blasting the lanes.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You're playing your percentages. That's smart, right? Like, if you look at Taylor Crabb's defensive posture, right? His defensive posture is not. If you watch him enough times, it's not geared to defend the hard-driven ball. In fact, by the time he even makes a move for it, the ball's already gone. His balance is geared to play the shot or the three-quarter shot because and at the level he's been winning, which is domestically.
The level of his block and his ability, like he's got peripheral vision.
How many shoots you see on the world scene? No, come on, they hit
something that's difficult is like I think what we see. You know, I'll tell you where I have sometimes my biggest challenge is getting through to people is the young open level males, because they're watching international ball and they're trying to replicate things they're seeing the international ball. But what they don't have is the ball control and the connection with a partner and the ability to do some of those things. Like I'm watching all these local guys jump set, faking no one out and putting a worse setup than they would if they just stayed on their 2 feet.
Yeah.
So like, and again, I am not knocking I see people experimenting with it. But when I see people, I see people that take a straight approach on the left, but they don't have the peripheral vision to actually see the defender,
Right.
right? And they lose their ability to snap core if they came in a little sharper,
But
right?
that's not a problem
So
with the indoor players that hit the beach. In fact, the ones that are the most deceptive, jump setting and all that stuff, happen to be indoor players, right? Miles Partain, like he doesn't have to face the net and set sideways. He's left-handed. He was an indoor setter at UCLA where he could square up to the net and still hit with his left hand.
well, that's because he had a big wall when he was a kid.
No, but Hoppe and Shaw at Huntington Beach. These are guys that were part of the USA program, but they were indoor players.
Yeah, but well, all right, indoor beach. Okay, Shaw is the son of a legend. Like literally, that guy was born with the volleyball silver spoon. And don't get me wrong, dude's an awesome player, works his butt off. But look at the size of him, and look at who his mentor was. You know what I mean?
But we're not talking about his mentor. We're talking about
Partain,
what he's doing against competition now.
But
you still have to get on the court and play regardless of your pedigree.
My point is you're bringing up two examples of players that I wouldn't call indoor beach. Like Partain literally had a wall that he hit against 3 hours a day just to learn how it worked. That's going to translate to whatever surface he plays on. You know what I mean? Like, but I liked that you talked about what I would more focus on is like, yeah, if someone gets really good at holding their platform and indoor, that's going to translate well to the sand. Yeah, if someone is an indoor setter and they get really good at jump setting, maybe that absolutely was a factor in Partain on top of what he did on the wall, being able to do so. But correlation isn't necessarily causation, and that is all that I was trying to make sure that anyone that might not have the same experience, and then they go look those three people up, some people, especially as the former 5'5" kid with a size 12 shoe, I couldn't look at a Shaw to tell me what to do. I might be able to look at certain technique things he does now and try to replicate it.
That's what I was saying. I wasn't talking about correlation or causation. I was talking about emulation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I became good because I watched videos of Jeff Stork for 2 years. I was in Germany as an outside hitter, and then some coach comes along, who I'll name later, said you should set. You're 6'1", you're left-handed, you should set. Jeff Stork is 6'4", I'm 6'1". I have a bigger wing. My wingspan's 6'8", his is 6'4". Right, we're different kind of body types, but there was someone where
you're not gonna find another 6'1" to 6'8" wingspan. I think I'm at two. Yeah.
Or 5'5" kids with size 12 shoes, man. Dude, we're freaks. So that's how I'd like to close the conversation. I was making more of an emphasis on, not a huge emphasis, but like a side emphasis on emulation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
by the way, man, what a tournament those two played.
Yeah,
and Huntington.
I mean, that was probably the men's breakout of the team of the tournament.
Yeah, I gotta go John Wilcox though. Well, that played with Berkey.
Yeah, that's true. But Shaw, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Shaw, takes this seriously, because I mean, I remember when he was first coming out of college that people were kind of looking at him like potentially like, man, if this guy wanted to take the beach seriously. So again, I don't pay attention because it ain't juniors ball, but no, I mean, every time I watch Shaw play, I look at there's not a lot of guys with that physique. I mean, he's like a slimmer David Lee. I don't know how else to describe it. You know what I mean? It's like David Lee and Tim Baumgren had a taller kid. It's wild.
I was there. All right, I didn't have to coach. My team got eliminated before the draw started, so I set up my blue tent, what everyone's now calling the shade, because the last few tournaments I set up at court 2. And, I hang out with coaches or whatever, Davenport, I always hang out with him. I think April came in, or, some people just sit and chill and we have a conversation, behind the camera. And my feature match was those two against Evan Corey and Ali Song. It was one of the most, it was electric just to be there. And the thing that impressed me about this kid is that there was obviously a wind side advantage, but it didn't mean anything to this kid jump serving. I was like, he's on my side of the net. I'm like, he's probably going to take something off the jump serve. Wham! No, he didn't. I was just like, whoa, my goodness.
You get a high enough snap and a good enough snap.
But the guy who was under my radar was Jordan Wilcox. I mean, I don't know if that's his first name. Ryan Wilcox.
Jordan was Hoppe.
No, Ryan Wilcox. That played with Devin Berkey. And they had to beat Prima and Marek to get in. And the second set was 21-7, like beat the brakes off of them. And I'm like, where are these freaking Hawaiians coming from? Like, I'm just filming the game a little bit because I'm a big Devin Burkey fan. I've seen Devin Burkey since, way back when he was a hippie. And he's also one of the only players that to survive a 2-day qualifier. Remember, Chicago was a 2-day qualifier. Him and Schwengel, the only team to make the main draw and survive.
Well, that might be changing. I don't know if you saw what's going on with PACA. I heard. Well, I don't know what the format, but I think qualifier is supposed to be Tuesday for a tournament that goes all the way to Friday.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. They're just trying to clear the weekend for grass theories, which is kind of like their jam,
Well,
I'm going to be at Pottstown Rumble, I'm calling center court.
Nice.
I'm calling center court. And then I'm going to Chicago the Wednesday after.
Yeah.
My wife and I are going to spend a day and a half in Chicago, and she says,
well, maybe not hit me up. Enjoy your time with her.
No, she's working. Well, we usually go to Wisconsin, but she has to go to Chicago and then back to Wisconsin. And I'm like, you didn't leave me alone with this crazy family. So I'm like, I'm doing Pottstown Rumble, and then we'll meet in Chicago. And she told me you're on your own in Chicago. And I'm like,
we'll see you at Foster Street.
Yeah, there you go. So let's finish up the coaching part of this because I want to have a little fun. And I know, and God, we did it again as far as like time.
I got 18 minutes.
Oh, you do? So
I got 18 minutes we do it.
I asked Dane, what does being coachable mean to him? And he had a pretty good answer as far as like not being able to taking understanding instructions, not being able to translate it on the court or whatever. Now, what does it mean to you?
Coachable. I mean, that's it's a lot of gray areas. Where are you? Where do you want to go? And how willing are you to take feedback from someone to try to get there? You know what I mean? Like how if we're doing something that's uncomfortable for you, how much trust are you willing to put in a coach, and how much are you willing to get outside your comfort zone to try something, right? Like if there's something that you've been somewhat proficient at as a hitter, but you're setting a ceiling for yourself, and by maybe, instead of doing this as a hitter, we get a little more high elbow snap. I know I'm losing with the green screen
Who
thing
cares?
there. Sometimes it throws people's timing off, and they got to break a little bit before they can build it. Do they have that trust? Are they willing to put the time in reps? Are they willing to get outside their comfort zone enough to learn something that, again, at the beginning might be worse and more uncomfortable, but that's what's going to take to learn it in a manner that's going to be successful. So, and again, kind of going on what we were saying earlier, like, I think there's a lot of kids that come off as not coachable that just haven't found the coach that understands what they need. And so I really try not to label kids as coachable, not coachable. If anything, the kids that might not be coachable for me are just kids that maybe their philosophies are different, right? And I think there's nothing wrong. Like if I've got a kid that sees a program that highlights things that I don't prioritize, and that's what's important to them, and they're a customer, they should go there, right? Like I have parents, like sadly, I have parents that we have to hide it, but they still like to keep in touch and talk about things because they don't want retaliation from their current club directors. But I still want what's good for the kid.
Me too. Me too. So, I was, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think, how coachable is someone? It's like, how uncomfortable are you willing to be, and how willing are you to trust someone in helping you work through that uncomfortability? And, again, I wouldn't say that's my thought off the top of my head on that. So
look,
I know you gave me a cheat sheet, but admittedly I hadn't.
Let me look, once again, I got Eminem by 8 Mile, right? Eminem had that little thing at the end where he had to go first, and he said, I know everything you're about to say against me, and he left the guy nothing to go on. And that's what happened here. I just got Eminem from 8 Mile by Mr. Bryan McDermand. And there's no point in actually inserting my 2 cents into something, an answer that's worth its weight in gold. So we're going to skip that because you said every single thing I was about to say. Mic drop, boom. Next topic.
Great. Mike saying, man, and 7 episodes. I think that's the first time I pulled that up.
Yep. A couple of days ago, we found out Miles and Bud are in. Budinger and Miles are in. And
first time I can say no, I've played against an Olympian.
And my team is out. The team I'm actually a fan of. I'm a fan individually of Trevor and Theo, and they must have known because they got together and decided to make a team because I'm a fan. That's how they did that for me. But
I
So I
with
have
no
mixed.
disrespect to anyone else, I'm
Yeah.
really pleased with the two pairs we have on both sides of
I'm
both genders.
I for the women I'm not zero problem with because it's going to lead to my next question. I have zero problem with, and this then it's for this reason. Both teams, if I asked them, tell me, look me in the eye and tell me you think you can win the gold medal. Both of them will look at me and in the most truthful and grounded and honest way they know how to answer that, they will say yes.
And they'd be right.
I don't
They
get
both
that.
can.
I don't get that from the men. I would only the only person I would have gotten that from was Trevor. I'm not even saying as a team. And I know I sound like I'm beating up on Miles and this and that. I'm not, because let me tell you something about Miles. I met him in 2016. He was this kind, really cool, chill person or whatever in 2016. It's 2024. He's still that same person. He got better. He's a better player. But Miles, the person who I knew, where sometimes success changes some of these dudes, he's still Miles Evans. So you'll see on social media everywhere. No, they don't even put Bud in it. And they don't even put Budinger in the equation. Congratulations, Miles. Congratulations, our guy, Miles. Oh my God, Miles, you're so great.
I've seen a
Then,
lot of Budinger stuff. I
yeah.
think it's probably, honestly, it's going to be one of the bigger bumps for
Well,
the sport in the aspect of like this former NBA guy
but
playing. Like
that's
there's a lot of people that
well,
for the first
Budinger's the
time,
story, but the celebration, and at least in my circle, and
yeah,
it's because he's been there from day one. He went from hippie who liked to play volleyball to, like, I don't know, taking a fifth with, uh, I can't even remember, to Spencer McLaughlin, to this guy, right? To Bill Kalinsky for a while, right? Uh,
hmm
um, so which team of the four of them has the best shot at winning gold?
definitely one of the two women's teams. Which one couldn't tell you.
I'll
I
tell
think
you.
on the women's side, I think on the women's side,
TKN versus all y'all. I'll
that's
tell you
that's
then.
that's who my heart says, because I really appreciate their story. I think there's actually a lot of parallels with like what I was doing with Kristen and Jess and what they were doing in regards to like unorthodox training. Actually, a lot of respect for Hamilton too. And I think if the goal is to grow the sport, I couldn't think of two better ambassadors, and that's not a knock on anyone. But I just think they're some of the most down to earth, personable. I respect the way that they blog honestly after losses and they kind of embrace the adversity.
From a not
Um,
phony place, from a real place.
yeah.
You
So
know?
so but the Olympics, it's all it takes is one crazy match. And I mean you saw it with think about Kerry Walsh's passing in that semifinal in 2016, right? You just don't know. But
I
between
knew
them,
because the
the
passing was a problem the
the
whole
Canadian
Olympics.
pair and the two Brazilian pairs, like those five, I could see them sweeping the podium in any order, and I wouldn't be surprised by it. But yeah, I hope man, when Clays and or Chang, I should say, and Hughes are on, that everyone. Here's the deal, and this is why I don't like get very defensive of picks or attack people that picks. Here's everyone's ceilings and basements, right? And all the pros, like their basement and ceilings coincide.
Yeah,
And that's
the
the
greatest flops
freaking
are the biggest flops are my greatest hits. Got it.
and that's the beauty of sports, is
Hmm.
it's going to be who catches fire. I'll tell you, we don't
Why do
talk
you think
about, but
it's
I
fun
was
to pick one? Why do you think it's fun to pick one? It's fun for
I
me to pick one because
I
it can
I
be
think
any of
it's
them. The hell with this, we're all special and we should all be roasting
it's not about
marshmallows,
everyone being
singing
special. It's
camp
about
songs and
it's
having a good time. Pick me a winner, damn it.
yeah,
Pick me a winner.
but there's 10 of the top players on the planet, and we're splitting hairs on who's better instead of just being grateful in 2024
Just,
that after being 20 years ago and having to like go on torrent sites to find European pro matches to watch volleyball, I'm going to be able to on my phone, which is this magic brick on my phone or in my pocket, watch in HD from halfway across the world and get to experience the greatest players in the world going against each other on the biggest stage with the highest stakes for what they've worked towards. And it kills me. And here we go. You get a soapbox from me. It kills me that we have 24/7 networks where people make millions of dollars bashing other world-class athletes for losing to other world-class athletes.
thank you.
I think it's ridiculous. So I don't like to subscribe to those conversations. I'm happy to talk about why I like certain teams over others, but I will not sit there and like, oh, you think the number 4 team in the world's that much better than the number 3 team in the world? Well, this is why you're crazy. Like,
Ain't nobody say nothing about better, Miss. Hold on. First of all, thank you, Captain Obvious. Okay, it's this great event where everyone's gonna have a good time and everybody's deserving and all these teams deserve to be there. Okay, and I understand why you don't want to pick a winner because some idiot out there.
I said I want TKN. That's who I want to win.
Good, yeah, but at the same time, we have to let our audience know we're not casting aspersions on anyone who we don't think is going to win. Could it be Cheyenne Hughes? Absolutely, they won the Worlds. Okay, could it be TKN? Absolutely, they won the money tournament after the Worlds. Could it be the Brazilians? Probably the heavy favorite to win. They've been beating the brakes off everyone. And think about 9 attempts TKN took to beat them. They only beat them once, but timing's everything. Right time, right place. And this is where I'm galvanized. This is where I'm energized. This is where I'm magnetized towards this thing like you were talking about. And I'd like to echo your sentiments after player hating on you by saying it's going to be the time of our lives. It's going to be excited.
I think it's exciting that there's a team. And you know what? Never be surprised if someone just gets hot those 2 weeks not on that list. You know what I mean?
April and Alex.
Yeah.
That was April and Alex. Because if you remember the 4 tournaments going into the Olympics, they didn't look so hot. In fact,
they caught fire at the end.
In fact, Sponsel and Chang, right, got in. They frog lip Kerry because they beat April and Alex in the third set, where a lot of people look like April and Alex is taking their foot off the gas pedal. And, you know, for all the conspiracy nuts, they're like, dude, this is a work. Someone doesn't want Kerry to get in, you know, but that's just me having fun with that. And, you know, and if that's not fun for anyone, y'all could come see me. But
yeah, so like I'm always down to sit and talk about like why certain teams can win it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, that's the excitement of it, is that there's so many different pros and cons, and it's like, look, what type of wind are they going to deal with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different elements that can change who's feeling good, who's not. And, you know, even going as far as thinking about Karen Bula, and I believe him when he said he had food poisoning in the Olympics. And like, I was really excited for that match he was going to have against, I think it was Lucinda and Dahlhauser, wasn't it? The quarters?
Maybe.
That's always a what if.
What year was that?
16.
Oh, 16, yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, watching him like that year, I thought he had a chance. You know, he was taking some thirds and fourths and playing in some big events, and his style was doing well. So
Cancun was like heaven to him. Remember Cancun, the 3 weeks
because
with the swirly winds.
Yeah. So that skyball clip with
4 of them.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like, that's like I'm so excited to watch, and I think it's gonna be good for the sport. I think it's gonna be fun to watch who does what. I from a character perspective, I really like the 2 men's teams. So do I necessarily think that they've got a better chance than some of the others not doing it? But for my own selfish priorities and what I want for role models, do I think Partain and Benish and Budinger and Evans are good? I think I'm excited to see what they do. And, you know, again, even with Partain and Benish, like, this is their first rodeo. Like, they're both young. You know, I mean, we had 3 of our 4 Olympians last quad were over 40. You know what I mean? So
isn't it terrific?
I'm not too worried. So I hope they catch fire for 2 weeks, and I hope they you know, take the world by storm. And if not, I hope to go full circle with the things we talked about. What are the things that broke down, and then go to work for the next squad? You know what I mean? Like,
well, for me, what is the health of Anders Mull? I think that determines who I think is going to win this whole thing. If Anders is healthy, or if that's assuming, I mean, right now, lucky for them, they had enough points. They took a whole, you know, they took a winter and spring off and still made the games. You know, no, but I'm a USA guy, right? And look, I'm not necessarily tired of watching 2 teams that keep winning that don't even have a tan, much less a beach, right? With the Swedes and the Norwegians, right? And, you know, I know you kind of, you know, want some guys, you know what I'm saying, who you know and identify with to win. So as a USA guy, I'm with that. With Miles Partain and that, I'm with that. But I'm glad that these European teams actually cattle prodded the men into getting tough or dying. Got to get tough or die. The women, we already knew because the women were good before, and it was an NCAA sport, right? You got two girls playing each other for the gold in 2012, right? You have Ross and Kessie, right? 2016, you had Kerry in the semifinals, and in 2020, I think Sponsel and Chang, had a really tight match against Wilkerson. That could have went. That was
That
a
was
third
wild.
set.
That last
Yeah,
call.
yeah.
I mean, it's a
As
game.
a coach, I was more concerned about the play after that. There was a controversial call in and out, and then the very next play, Sponsel and serve receive overpass. And then Brandy, Brandy put it down. So me as a coach, I was more concerned about not what happens the next play, right? Do you freaking, side out and say the hit never lies or something, talk that nonsense. But that was what concerned me. The other thing that concerned me was that Chang didn't really need to be trying to show up Brandy when they were up, and that you didn't need to light a fire under that girl. Like at 9-4, they're up 1-0, and she back set. And kind of had this yell, but that was like a second longer, that elongated thing. And I saw Brandy stop, turn around, and then switch sides. And that's 10-4 switch. Maybe next time you let a sleeping tiger lie, And that wasn't
she might not have even been aware of who was paying it. It's probably just adrenaline.
No, because Brandy would never bring that to anyone's attention. You know who did, though? Anna Patricia. I don't know if you remember that one when they were shaking hands. You saw her giving her the business about watch your mouth or something. I don't speak Portuguese, but cheering for Sarah Hughes. She deserves it. She's right. She's come a long way from Kelly to all these partners. To being touted as the next Misty May and having to handle all that stupid unnecessary pressure to being. And still being Sarah. I ran into her on the beach 2 weeks ago. I said, I'm so proud of what the way you stayed the same. Some things change about you, but you stay the same. Still got that smile, So, sorry, I'm off on the deep end, and you got to go.
Yeah, good. And shout out to and look, I obviously like the U.S. teams, but Brandy Wilkerson was such a class act when she came and did a clinic for us. Everyone can say what they want. I think a lot of people feel pretty high up on her, but the memory that I think about was the clinic had ended and it was over, and she's the only one left on the sand. She's shagging the balls for me. I'm like, I got this. You're good. You know what I mean? Those are things there were no cameras, no one were watching. Those are the little things to me that say the character of someone. And she was great with our kids. Was really fun to organize with her, and they actually brought in a bunch of sponsors. So they did a clinic for free for a bunch of kids in the area. And most pros that reach out to me come with a pretty steep price tag for what they're offering. It's literally hard to make it make sense. But when they came in and ran a program that was really about the kids and the way they set up and her team around her, I'm more than happy if I see those two. I'd love to see those two on the podium as well.
Good player to emulate. Yeah. Good player to emulate and authentically nice with the kids. Let's and a good human being. I was doing volleyball one-on-one. She gave him a 20-minute interview after she won FIVB P1440 Vegas. Nice. She took first place, and it was a really fun interview. It was 22 minutes. I interviewed her.
Really down to earth.
I interviewed her and Trevor Crabb that episode. For anyone looking for some of my old videos, those are called Volleyball One-on-One. I was kind of doing the beat reporting, part of that pay your dues again, along with everything else. Let's do lightning rounds. Some of them are the same questions, some of them are new. Ready? Let's do this. I got my clock and let's go. Okay, here's a familiar one. Favorite comedian?
Oh boy. Used to be Louis C.K. when he was going through stuff, or before he went through some stuff.
I'll go Chappelle.
Man.
I'll go Chappelle.
Yeah, like Chappelle too. I like a lot of stand-up comedy. So
last good.
Tom Papa, underrated.
Nice.
Big fan of his too.
Tom Papa. I like that. Last good movie you watched?
Ooh. Shoot, what did Chris and I just watch? We actually watched that Unfrosted with Seinfeld that he did on Netflix. Awesome. It was goofy, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of movies, but that was silly.
Sound of Freedom is mine. Coaching or playing?
Coaching. I love playing, but coaching makes me feel more purposeful.
Coaching for me, or commentating if I had to pick one. Marvel or DC?
Neutral.
Ice cream or cupcakes?
Ice cream.
Nice. Bourbon, vodka, or tequila?
Oh man, I'm not an alcohol person because of my liver, but rum and coke is usually what I do at weddings. That's my one place that I'll tie them on.
Nice. Favorite sport outside of volleyball?
Ooh, used to be basketball. I'll tell you, I haven't played in a long time. Love badminton. Big badminton. There's a badminton place just down the road from my facility. I was just talking with some old high school friends that used to play it, and we used to go to open gym. Got to pick that back up.
Nice. Favorite action film star growing up? For example, mine is Bruce Willis.
Ooh, trying to think of all the stuff I watched growing up. Action. Trying to think of all the movies.
Todd
Christian Bale. Does Christian Bale count?
Yes, he's a superhero.
Yeah.
He literally played a superhero.
Great actor.
All right, guys. So anyone want to know a little bit more about Bryan McDermand? He's going to plug his IG and his website and tell you what he's all about to finish this episode.
Sure. So progressionvolleyball.com is the website if you're in the Chicagoland area. My youngest player is 11. My oldest is 76. We do rentals at our indoor beach courts. I coach all ages and levels. For juniors, we do 4 sessions a year, 3 1-month pauses. Every coach works with all the different groups. So with one game in town that can look you in the eye and guarantee the quality of instruction, even if we haven't seen your kid play. And then Instagram's Progression VB just started to put some more footage out there from our practices. Veronica's been phenomenal, our new social media person, but excited over the next 6 months to do more educational content. So if anyone's out there that is struggling, whether it's indoor or beach, like you're in an area where you're struggling to find relevant content, whether it's skills, college guidance, whatever, please reach out to me and hit us up in the DMs and let me know. And my goal is to build a lot of content over the next 12 months, directly catered to what parents, players, and coaches at the lower levels on top of the elite levels are looking for. So that's what I got.
God bless. Okay, guys. Bryan McDermand might love you guys, but me, I don't love any of you. In fact, I can't even stand you. In fact, I'm out of here. So for all of you at home, for all of you on your iPhone, your Droid, or desktop, who runs the world? Old school, baby. From my man Bryan McDermand from Chicago, from Progression Beach Volleyball. I'm Jason DeBeas. This is episode 207 of the Option Podcast. We're going to hit my music, buddy, and we are out of here. Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.